Hi there, my name's Ben and I like to read. Today we're going to be reviewing a book by Simon Kuper and Stefan Szymanski, Soccernomics, or I know that word soccer, or as me and my friends call it, soccer, is controversial. Of course, they're talking about association football, but footballonomics is a little bit too much of a mouthful. Anyway, this book is essentially, it was written in 2009, and it is a nonfiction, it's a half economic analysis, half sports journalist approach. And I mean, it makes complete sense that the authors are both a sports journalist and an economist, and they essentially break down the world sport of association football. And they do it in a way that is not only thought-provoking, but it really, I mean, especially for the time this book is now, as I'm making this video, almost 13 years old. And it's really, really interesting. As someone who absolutely adores the sport, and as many other people around the world do, it's really interesting to see, the cases that they choose as well, and also their projections for the future of the sport as well. I mean, they go into an analysis as to why England traditionally underperforms at major tournaments, as to why Germany and Brazil have a tendency to overperform, if you will, at these tournaments, and they even go into they take I shouldn't say random countries, but these quote-unquote up-and-coming nations like the United States, Japan, Turkey, Australia. They even take Iraq, and through their economic analysis, they predict that these countries are actually going to be, the new powerhouses in the sport. And I mean, you can actually kind of see that right now. I mean, especially with recent performances at World Cups, you can see how, the United States, their more money is going into it. The MLS, the Major League Soccer league that they have, is growing. There are more players coming over from Europe. It is becoming more part of the culture. Even the national team as well. There are some high-profile, American players that are playing abroad. You have Christian Pulisic. You have Zach Stefan. Those are the two in the Premier League. I know there's Timothy Weah as well. I know there's more. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. But I mean, in the past you had people like Michael Bradley, who now plays in Toronto. You had Claudio Reyna. You had Brad Friedel, Brad Guzman. And so yeah, it's really Carlos Bocanegra, all of those guys. And you can really see, like, okay, yeah, now it's starting to make sense, especially now, 12, 13 years down the road, you can see, okay, yes, they are definitely one of the powerhouses in the Northern Hemisphere, but now they're also going, they could potentially mount a challenge and go even farther into the World Cup standings. I mean, it's 2022, the World Cup is happening in the winter, so we will see if they if they do as well as predicted. Now, I would say, of course, being a Canadian, Canada is also qualified, so it's a shameless plug right there. But I hope we go far as well. I'm surprised that they didn't do a case on them. But anyway, that's too much of a tangent. Bringing it back to the book. Bloomberg News described this as a blend between the book Freakonomics and the book Fever Pitch. And it's thought-provoking, to say the least. It really makes you think, like, oh, okay, like, we usually tend to think of a sport as just something for entertainment. But no, these Kuper and Szymanski really get into it, and they essentially, the way that they break it down, you can really see how anything from, like, a transfer to a youth setup to even a kit manufacturer, like, the type of kit manufacturer that someone has can be used as a predictor for future success or for future failure or even for current failure. And it really goes to show the complete economic system that is around world football today. And I mean, anyone who's a neophyte in there can even see from the transfer market, there's hundreds of millions of, if not billions of dollars, euros, pounds sterling that are spent every single summer and winter to, ship players around the world. Contracts are negotiated, image rights are bought and sold. It's just this Byzantine, it's this completely different world, with a completely different set of rules that permeates through all levels of the sport. But of course, all that we see on the surface is a lot of money and a flashy kit and amazing performances on the pitch, right? So Kuper and Szymanski do a really good job of not only taking the geopolitics and the economic aspects of the game, but they also really break down, okay, this is what you see on the pitch. There's so much more behind the scenes. What's on the pitch is just the summit. That's the tip of the iceberg. They're 90% of the sport is played off the field. So it's a really, really interesting read. I mean, it's only, with the index and everything like that, it's like 330 pages. It's a relatively quick read. It reads really well despite it being more of an economic analysis. If you're a fan of the sport, you have to give it a read. Obviously you shouldn't be forced to read anything, but no, you definitely give this one a read. Do not skip out on it whatsoever. If you are someone who's interested, perhaps in, you see the upcoming World Cup, you're thinking, you know what, let's learn a little bit more about it. Definitely pick it up. If you are someone who enjoys reading nonfiction and, something that's not a self-help book or something that's science-y or something that's, spiritual or whatever else. If you're looking for something like a little fresh, I'd suggest this one. I mean, like I said, it's easy to read, easy to understand. The concepts that they communicate are interesting as well. And you really sort of get this, this inkling that this is truly the world's most popular sport for a reason. And for that reason, I cannot do anything but recommend it. If you're not that interested in nonfiction, feel free to sit it out. It's not it's not the end of the world if you don't read it. But for those of you that are interested, and for those of you who are going to watch the World Cup, and for those of you who are sports fans in general, or who are interested in getting into sports administration, definitely read this book. It's a fantastically good read, and if you have read it before, let me know in the comments what your thoughts were. If not, and you want to read it, give it a read and let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below. Thanks again for watching.